Hey, what's up, everybody? This is the June 2021 edition of Josh Says Mean Things. I will be your host today, Josh Baker. I'm here to say mean things about your photos. Now, of course, we don't really say mean things about them, maybe just a little bit. But welcome, everybody. I'm glad everybody's out there watching. What's up, Mr. Jim McKay and the Pelican Cases? I think that's going to be your new band name, Jim. Jim McKay and the Pelican Cases. I love it. Kendra, what's up? Long time no see. It's been a whole 48 hours. Yeah, good to see everybody. You know, as we see everybody right now. I'm still working on the dates for July. Some of y'all may already know this, but we are going to try to do a hybrid happy hour Josh Says Mean Things live stream. I think I can make it work. Yeah, that's gonna be our mean things for July. We're gonna try to do a Josh buys the first round happy hour, and then we'll have a live studio audience. So we'll have to go with like multiple cameras, where we can have an audience reaction shot and a me shot, and that'll be fun. I might have to have an assistant for that one because it might be a little crazy. So anyway, yes. How's everybody doing? I hope y'all are doing well on a rainy Tuesday. It's been raining off and on all day here in Pflugerville, Texas. It's kind of been a sleepy, try to get work done kind of day. So, what's up, Ronnie? How you doing? All right, look at this. Got the whole crew. Look at that. Team Blue represent. Team Blue, yeah. Team Blue is what I call my, creative network, right? So I think everybody's watching kind of understands what that is. But yeah, we're all Team Blue here. We're all a little weird, a little outside the normal. Man, I'm just happy to be talking to y'all today. I'm really excited for next month if we can try to do it hybrid in person. So we'll do some in, if you want to stream it, you can stream it. If you want to show up in person and maybe get some wine or beer, we can do that too. But I think that'd be good. Have a little pre-show happy hour. I think that'd be fun. All right. I don't know if I can pull it off. We'll see. We might have technical difficulties, but either way, it's going to be good times. Yeah. So, yeah, we have 16 photos to go through today. Now, what I'm going to do, what's up, Dragon Lingo, Mr. Anagram? What I'm going to do is we're going to go through the photos. I'm going to talk about things, and then I took everybody's photo into Lightroom, and I'm going to illustrate what I would do with them. Okay? So this isn't what you have to do. Understand? It's not what you have to do with them, but it's just what you could do with them. We had some pretty specific questions on a couple of the photos that were submitted, and so they wanted me to demonstrate a few things. But a lot of it is dealing with radio filters, and a lot of it is dealing with trying to understand where the viewer's eye, where we want you as a photographer to lead it. Okay? If we could lasso our eyes as a photographer, if we could lasso our viewer's eyes, where would we yank them to, right? Which part of the photo would we yank their eye to so that they can see exactly what it is we want them to see, and try to minimize the things we don't necessarily want them to see, right? So there'll be a supporting cast, and then there'll be a star of the show, right? And so as a photographer, kind of our job is to align the compositional elements, the brightness of elements, and the color of elements so that your eye goes exactly where you want it to go. Okay? So we're going to be talking about that a lot today. That's kind of the overall theme of today, is moving people's eyes around. All right, let's get into it. And as always, if you have questions, throw them in the chat. Yeah, tell your friends. We're slowly inching our way up to subscribers, so I appreciate that for all of y'all out there. Let's see if the chat pops up. There it is. Good, awesome. So the first photo out of the box here is from my longtime friend, Miss Jessica Jade. She has been really shooting a whole bunch lately, so it's been pretty fun to see all the new stuff coming from what she's been doing. So this, I think this is a great example of a photo that's using compositional elements to tell more of the story, right? So I'm doing a little bit of guessing here, but only because I know a little bit about Justin Family. But I think this is I don't want to get the words wrong, but we have some maybe non-normal gender roles going on here, and what I love about that is having that as a reflection splits them into two images, right? So kind of playing up the duality of the self. I think that's a great impulse to want to shoot that, right? The other thing is we have warm tones on half the photo and cool tones on half the photo. And so we're using color here as a way to add contrast. We're using reflection as a way to add intrigue. And if you notice, the reflected shot or the reflected half is the one in focus. So that's the one that your eye is normally going to go to. But I think there's also something interesting about the gaze here and about how the subjects are kind of looking at themselves, but also each other, but also another version of themselves. And so the version that we put out into the public versus maybe our own self view, I think there's a lot going on here. I think it needs to be amped up just a little bit when I get to showing you what I did with it. I brightened it up a little bit and I amped up that color contrast. So I made the reds and oranges more red and orange, and I made the blues and aquas more blue and aqua. I'll show you, but just something to think about. But as a way to tell the story, right, I think it's a very good technique. You know, if you're shooting a couple that has a dual nature to them, how cool is it to shoot them as a reflection, right? So it's taking what is and then adding that design language to tell more. So good job, Jess. I like this photo. All right, this comes from Michelle. What's up, Michelle? And I think this is simple, right? We have golf flag on a green, right? We have a fairway green, very simple, very concise, and that's good, right? I think it's good to reduce any extraneous things that don't belong in the photo, right? So if we see a golf flag, a fairway, a blue sky, boom, that's all we need. We don't need a whole lot of extra. I think also it's very difficult as photographers. One of the things that we deal with so much is dynamic range, right? What does our eye allow us to see versus what our camera allows us to see? And in most cases, the camera sees less. Just the nature of the way our camera sensors are, right? But the human eye can see something like 2 to the 22nd, and cameras can see something like 2 to the 14th in terms of exposure data. And so with something like this, where you really want to bring out the sky, but also have the whites and the flag pop, and we're shooting kind of into the sun, that's always a tough thing because you're having to play with relative brightness of the background versus the foreground. And so when I took this into edit, I punched it in where it's just the flag, and I got rid of the trees and grass altogether. But then I used a radial filter to pop out the whites of the flag so that it really stands out against kind of more of the blue of the sky. One of the things that I use a whole bunch is the HSL panel, and I individually adjust the luminance of each color. So in this case, right, I can make the reds brighter, and the yellows brighter, and I'd probably bring the flag, and I could bring the blues and aquas down, and it's going to darken the sky. So if we want that flag to pop off, we can use the relative brightness of color channels as a way to make what we want to, where your eye should go to pop off. Because if we look at it now, your eye actually goes to just above the flag. There's some clouds that have sun coming behind them, and your eye goes to just above the flag. But in reality, the subject here, the one that's in focus, is the flag, which also reminds me of the what's the guy's name? But do you have a flag? Eddie Izzard, right? He has a whole bit. There's a whole section of Eddie Izzard comedy routines done with Legos. It's hilarious. Anyway, go watch that some other time. But so right, we're dealing with relative colors, and I think the more that I edit, the more that I want to deal with relative brightness, instead of trying to make global adjustments fit everything. I think a lot of times when we're editing, we brighten the exposure of the entire photo when really we just want a small part of the photo to be brighter. And that's why I say like radial filters and graduate filters really come in handy. So good job, Michelle. We'll come back to this one here in just a little bit. This one was from one of our Patreon excursions. This is from Miss Kendra. And the model here is the wonderful Sarah. On Instagram, she's the plate. She's awesome. We had a great time with light wands walking around downtown. Where did that go? And what I like about this, I think this is a great example of what we might call shoot through stuff, right? We have a cool foreground, right? We have out of focus Christmas tree lights here. But I love how Kendra utilized the posing to bring the hands into it. The face is well illuminated against the black of the background and kind of the black of the top that Sarah's wearing here. There is shadow detail in it. I don't know if it's showing up in the YouTube, but in the original photo you can see it. And so there is a little subtle, you can see the black of the shirt she's wearing. But what I love is the hands coming in, right? The hands and eyes are always the part that tell the story. But it's a very simple composition, but by bringing in just enough design elements, I think it makes for a pretty powerful photo, right? We have these out of focus yellows, the blue in her hair, the white in the face, the black in the background, the black in the shirt, right? So all of those are kind of talking to each other. There's not too much, there's not so much going on that it's distracting, but there is enough that it's interesting. And that's always that fine line of how much to put in and how much to take out. I think that way with food photography a lot. It's always how many styling elements do I add in and how many do I leave out, right? Do I want to go very minimalist or do I want to go just like chaos? And that's always kind of that balancing line of chaos to minimalism. So what's up, Kim? Killer Chi. So yeah, I really like this photo from Sarah, from Kendra of Sarah. I really love the yellow and blue contrast. I think that really kind of helps everything pop out. Mark says, I'm normally worried about things blending into the background, but when I seeing this, I can see it. Yeah, so I don't know if you can see it on the stream, but the actual photo itself does have detail a little bit between like the top she's wearing and the black of the background. But yeah, we were shooting into like Christmas tree lights at this point, but it was a really fun photo walk. We had a great time with this one. So good job, Kendra. I really like this. I actually like this better of the photo that I took in the same location, so good job. All right, here comes Marks from Pittsburgh. Let's talk about a couple things on this one. I love the starbursts. The starbursts in this cityscape are great, right? We have all these lights and they're just boo 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 blooming, right? That's really cool. I noticed it was shot at f11. So yeah, good job there as far as starbursting those lights. I love the reflections in the water. I think that's really cool. Getting the color and the variety of colors from the different colored buildings reflecting in the water, long exposure, getting that water to smooth out, all really good things. I want to say that one of the other topics I like talking about is the weight of the photo, and kind of where your eye should go. To me, this photo is kind of, the interest is the bridge in all of the sunbursts, and then the water. But the lower left-hand side of this photo, with all that texture and kind of bricks and grass, it feels pretty crunchy, right? It feels to me a little overdone, and so I think the weight of the photo is a little bit more to the right, but our eye is going to that lower left. So if we can minimize the lower left a little bit, we can make that center line, right, that kind of that mid-horizon line where all the interest is. I think it'll allow the eye to hover there longer without being distracted by the clarity and texture and structure on the left. So if we can minimize that with maybe some graduated filters or radial filters, we can minimize what's on the lower left so that we can bring out what's in the center. Just as a way of thinking, like, where do I want my eye to view? Well, I went to all this hard work to get really smooth water and these really cool sunbursts. So how can we use the other elements in the photo to really guide you to the thing I want you to see? Okay. But I love the colors. I love the gold. I love the starburst. And you did a good job of keeping everything vertical. I do want y'all to notice that the buildings are verticaled up and they're not all cattywampus. That's your word for the day, cattywampus. So good job, Mark. I'm going to come back to this one. I'm going to bring up Lightroom here in a minute. I'm going to come back to that one, but I really like this one. This one's from Tiffany from Farmhouse Photography. A couple really good things going on here again. Using blades of grass and other floral as a way to shoot through stuff. In real life, I don't say stuff. I say another word. But I think that really adds a great foreground element to give depth to the photos. We have this nice green cattywampus. Do you want to know how I spell that? I will type it for you. Cattywampus. And so without having to shoot at a super wide open depth of field, it allows us to have that photo feel foreground, middle ground, and background. What's up, Patty Robson? And so shooting through things is always a great way to add that foreground element so that your photos feel like they have more depth and more complexity. Love that. So good job there. I do feel like this photo was a little bit toward the green side of white balance. I would have warmed it up a little bit. The other thing, do a radio filter to bring out kind of the faces, and then we can kind of darken the background a little bit and let them pop out more from that. The other thing, let's talk about posing. For people that are not happy with what their bodies look like, use one of the bodies to hide the other. So good job there, right? Yeah, and the expressions. Yeah, I think y'all are right. Jim McRae, right? We have a great laughing moment, right? The guy in the green shirt is obviously having a genuine laugh at whatever somebody said around him. And you know, that's kind of what it comes down to. I bet this couple, they didn't notice the white balance. They didn't notice the grass in front of them. What they noticed was, man, I look happy. And I think this photo is a great reminder of, you know, as photographers, we get nitpicky, right? We overanalyze and we study photos. We ask people what it was shot on and all those technical questions. But at some point, you just got to make people laugh, right? You just got to bring out that emotion in your clients so that, you know, you show them in their best light, which oftentimes is just them laughing and having a good time. And so, good job, Tiffany. I really like this photo. I like that their hands are touching. I like that there's connections in the hands. I like that they're smiling. All those things are good. The things I would change are just small little details. All right, this one comes from Mr. Miguel. He says, man, I'm on vacation. I took this cool photo and I was playing around and I just couldn't get my verticals right. Like, the more I tried to mess with it, the worse they became. And it just wasn't what I wanted. And so I'm going to take this photo, and this is actually the photo that started me bringing photos into Lightroom, to show you the transform tool. Because I think the guided tool in Lightroom, is really going to save, you know, cityscapes, anything with architecture, anything that with lines that need to be vertical or that want to be vertical. The guided tool is a great way to really make sure that they stay vertical. And the reason that we want these lines to be vertical is so that the curvature of the human form is a contrast to the linear nature of the building. Okay? And so, does it matter that the lines aren't vertical? No, it doesn't. But as a way to add contrast to the photo and to contrast the human form against the building form, it's better if those lines are vertical so that we can focus on the human. Does that make sense? Because the human has a shape that isn't lined. My grandmother always told me, she was an artist, she always told me there's no straight lines in nature. And so the contrast, so to make nature contrast with, you know, something man-made, we want to make sure those man-made things are lined up so that we can contrast with curved lines against it. I do that with a lot of my couples posing. A lot of times I tell the guy to kind of be the statue, the linear one, straight up and down, right? And then we can let the female be the curve against that line. And so even by posing, can we add contrast to our photos? Okay. Just something to think about. All right. This was a hard one. Kira and I actually had a pretty good offline discussion about this already. Kira, I hope you're watching at some point because I'm going to get into detail here. So there's kind of a trend in wedding photography, engagement, couple photography to make the people tiny. Little tiny humans. There's some people who are really, really, really good at it. People like Fair Juristi, who I reference a lot, but I love his compositions. I'll type it here in the comments. But I love his work, and he does this where like there's like all these cool shapes, and then the people are just somewhere in there. And so Kira was like, "Man, I was trying to do that, but it just didn't work." So if it were me, she was asking about focal length and what lens to use. It seems to me to use somewhere in like the 24 to 35 range lens. That's where I've kind of seen it work, and where this really cool angle of light coming in. So where would I have put people? Against those two pillars in the very back in the photo, each of them a little bit in the sunlight, or against those pillars or laying down on the ground, catching that natural light. This is actually a very hard one to light because the time of day this was shot, that light coming through is so orange. And so your flash doesn't read as natural. I say I've tried to do this too. I just tried to do this a couple months ago. I failed as well. But the flash doesn't read as natural because it's showing up as daylight, where that light coming through, the natural light is so orange and red, right? And so trying to balance those colors is a hard part, right? Light has three qualities. It has an intensity, right? How much light is there? It has a color, right? And then it has a shape. Right? Now, if we didn't light them, they'd be silhouettes. So I get that you need to. So how would you fix it? You could add a little bit of orange filter, orange gel. Now with a softbox, that's hard. But you could wrap just the opening inside in orange gel. That would match the colors. Or you could go completely opposite and maybe gel them blue to add orange and warm contrast. All of those being said, what my eye first goes to is the fact that I can see the flash on the floor and the flash on the ceiling. And so for me, if I were editing this, I would darken the ceiling and I would darken the foreground so that all you see is the illuminated couple and that cool triangular warm light coming in. The other thing, take the cell phone out of the guy's pocket. It happens a lot. I always offer my camera bag. Hey, your stuff will be safe in here. Let's put that in the camera bag because you don't want to see all your cell phones in your pockets. But I do love the look on their faces and the dancing and the pose. Right, the action is right. All the other stuff matters to us, but again, to them, they're dancing, having a good time. I bet they're super happy with the photos. I know I keep saying that, but that's what really matters, right? Are your clients happy with your work? Now, we can always improve, but I think as a baseline, they'd be super happy with this. Now, where would I put them if I was trying to make tiny humans? I'd probably put them in the far right pillar and maybe lay them on the ground or do something odd with them. And then we could have a couple pillars lit and then let the shadows go pretty dark and just kind of have some abstract shapes. Instead of trying to be informational with our lighting, we could be very dramatic with our lighting. So that's how I'd fix that. Good submission, Kira. Good submission. All right, this one comes from Jim McKay in the Pelican cases. And I think this is a great use of a light wand. Right, we have just a Pelican case, which as a photographer, I hope you know what a Pelican case is. It just housed all my underwater gear this weekend. Topo Chico bottle disappears with green screen and it's fun. I'm not sure what that means, Dragon, but okay. Oh no, Gatorade. I'm drinking Gatorade. Sorry, right there in front of me. There you go. I'm trying to recover from all the sun I got this weekend, and I've been dehydrated and I can't catch up. But yeah, Pelican case, right? I love how everything is monochromatic, and then the light wand comes in. And I think that's fun, right? It kind of reminds me of like an old Xerox, like print the copy and color. I don't know if you remember the old Xerox ads where they had like copy and color ads. And it kind of reminds me of something like the early like Apple stuff where they had kind of more of that like rainbow light and all that. but I love kind of like the heaviness of the Pelican case, right? It's sitting low, like it's pulling down the screen, right? If something were centered, it wouldn't feel as heavy, but it's something at the very bottom of the center screen. It feels like it's pulling the screen down with them, so it feels heavy. And then we have this contrast of the lightness of the wand, right? So the wand is like the light wand is playful and dancing around, and then we have the heaviness of the Pelican case. Maybe not heaviness, but it has weight to it. It has substance to it. Right, it's not floating in the air like the light is dancing around them. So I think it's very cool, right? It also, if you're going to put graphics above it or text, like, hey, here's our new thing, we have that good negative space to add, text or verbiage if we're running as an ad. I think I've told the story before, but the first time I ever shot for a magazine, I was doing a bridal magazine cover shoot, and I didn't leave enough headroom to put the masthead. Kind of messed it up. And it's so weird, when we're shooting headshots and things, we get so used to putting the head kind of close to the top of the screen. But the first time I did a magazine cover shoot, I screwed the pooch and I didn't do it right. And we had to do some creative photoshopping to extend the canvas so they could put in the masthead of the title. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. So always, one of the things I always do is if I'm shooting for somebody, hey, what's your output going to be? Are these photos going to go on a cover? Is it an editorial? They're going to go inside? Is it going to go on a billboard? Like, knowing the output is going to be a good way to help you inform how you should shoot. Yeah. But yeah, I really love the way the light one comes out here. It's very fun. So, good job, Jim. Oh, look, here's a photo of me taken by Patty Robertson. Hooray. We had our monthly Patreon get-together shoot Saturday. Thanks for Patty for hosting. And there was a little bit of a lull as our models were changing. And so I said, I'll be your model. There were some interesting photos that came of that. I won't share those online, but if you want to see them, I will send them to you because I look hilarious. But I will give you a sneak peek here. The next episode of Learn Lightroom Live for July is going to talk about processing photos that were taken underwater. Because the hard part underwater is all your reds go away. So within the first 3 feet of water, you lose all your reds. And then oranges go. Well, guess what color our skin tone is? Red and orange. So, yeah, Nirvana. I know, I've gotten that a couple times. Nirvana, yeah. I just need to be chasing $1. We should have photoshopped a dollar bill on a hook. I could have been going for it. Coincidentally, the photos from that Nirvana album are owned by Modern Rocks Gallery, which is on East 11th in Austin. So if you're in Austin, you can actually go and see the entirety of that shoot. There's like 30 or 40 photos from that shoot, the Underwater Nirvana album cover shoot, and you can actually go see them and the proofs down at Modern Rocks Gallery. Our photo club took a tour there like 4 or 5 years ago, and it was really cool. So if you like Nirvana like I do, it was really neat to see it. So, haha. So what do I see wrong with this photo? Well, my forearms are green. It looks like I'm growing scales. My face is actually pretty okay, but it's the shadow color that is kind of off here, right? So that's kind of where the offness is. The other part, that white balance, so that's sunlight. So half this photo's in shadow, half of it's in sunlight. But the sunlight should be kind of more reddish orangish, and the shadows, the sunlight beams are kind of greenish. And so processing underwater is very difficult. For a normal portrait shoot in daylight, we might be something like, 5,500 Kelvin, maybe plus or minus 5 units of red, right? Maybe a little green, maybe a little red, but maybe plus or minus 5. And that's a pretty normal, right? The photos that I took from the same day, I was at something like 8,500 Kelvin and like plus 100 red. Because so much of your red goes away that you have to add it back in. The other thing that I do, this is really where I use the HSL panel quite a bit, which is I take my aquas and my blues and I darken them, and I take my reds and my oranges and I brighten them. And then I go into my saturation panel and I add in probably 20 to 25 units of red and orange just to try to pump more of the color that we're losing from water back into the photo. Okay. And we'll talk more about it next month in Lightroom, but the gist of it is it's a red problem and an orange problem. And so it's hard to get correct white balance underwater. The other thing that makes it hard is depending on how close your face is to the surface, the white balance changes dramatically in the first 5 feet. So if your face is at the surface versus if your face is 5 feet below the surface, the white balance is completely different for the skin tone because you're losing more and more reds more and more quickly as you go down, right? That's why water's blue and doesn't look like lava, right? So yeah, compositionally, I maybe would have punched in a little bit. There's kind of the mermaids getting ready on the back. I do love that the tail, there's one tail right above my shoulder. It seems like it's mysterious and there's got some hijinks going along. But I think Kim's over there in a dress on the right-hand side. So I maybe would have cropped that out or cloned that out, your choice. But I think it's a little bit of distraction on the right. So yeah, and Ronnie, I agree. Their gallery has a ton of cool stuff. It's in Canopy, the Modern Rocks gallery. It's down at Canopy, and it's a really cool place to go check out. They have a bunch of like the old Austin City Limit photos, like old photos of Willie Nelson running a 5K, just some really cool stuff. So if you like music, which I'm guessing most of y'all do, it's a really neat place. So okay. This one comes from Miss Ronnie D. What's up, Ronnie D? Is that your rap name? I think it is. Kind of like the Beastie Boys, Mike D. We got Ronnie D. What? But I think this one is a great example of the weight of a photo. Because what's in focus and what's bright is weighted against what's darker and kind of more expansive. So where your eyes should go is concentrated in the upper left, and then it kind of fades out. And so it has this nice balance. Even though this photo, the subject is off-centered, it feels balanced. Does that make sense? Of this cactus? I'm guessing it's a cactus. The other cool thing is there's this really cool, like, soft texture to it. You can see like little like drops of moisture on it, and I don't know if it's coming through on streaming, but it has a really nice amount of texture to it. But I love it how with compositionally, what's bright is in the upper left, and then we have all this negative space that kind of fades to black as it goes across. On the stream, I'll bring it up on Lightroom. It'll look a little different. But there's this really cool, just like soft, like you want to touch this photo. This photo, if I was printing it, would look great on something like a cold press natural. That's something that had a lot of like pulp in it and texture to really bring out the pulp and texture of this plant, or something that's kind of soft, right? But some paper that has that nice texture to it would be really cool for a print like this. Versus, I wouldn't want to put this on like a metallic luster. The subject is matted, and I wouldn't want a real shiny paper that's not bringing out the right thing. I would lean towards a paper that had texture versus a paper that had reflectivity. So yeah, does that make sense on printing? Right, printing is kind of like the sommelier of the camera world. It's pairing the image with the paper. But yeah, something like a cold press that has a lot more like chunk to it, I think would look really good on this type of print. But the other thing I love is the pink and green color contrast, right? Those are kind of natural color contrasts. So we have kind of that pink and green working with each other as well. But then we also have that contrast of bright to dark as it goes across the frame. Okay. So it has a good weight of in focus to out of focus. Good job, Rodney. I really like this photo. All right, Mr. Steven. I was standing, I don't know, 100 yards away. So this is from our, we just did a Milky Way camp out in West Texas a couple weeks ago. So we ended up with 5 students out in the desert. We had a great time. I damn near blew up my car. That's a story for maybe the happy hour. But I ended up driving 180 miles with no AC, and I thought my car was going to explode. It was fun. But this was the last night we were there. And this this location is one I've been wanting to shoot Milky Ways in for like 5 years. And for whatever reason, I just hadn't been able to make it happen. And I really love that Steven got a really cool image down there. What I really love about this photo is the horizon line of the left canyon mirrors baling wire. Yeah, we actually did tie my battery back to my car with baling wire. But I love how the horizon line is mimicked by the Milky Way. All right, so we have this great Milky Way going across, and it feeds into that opening of, right into that opening, right? So the other thing that was cool about this, there was actually windmills on the other side of the river from where we were. And so this was also a great technique for using our horizon line to block noise pollution. Not noise, light pollution. And so we were down low, shooting kind of up, so we didn't really see it. The night before, we were up higher, and we were getting, a little bit of light from this like windmill farm that's probably 50 miles away, but it was hitting the lower atmosphere. So yeah, now what I really love the Milky Way. I think the Milky Way processed out really great here. I wish I would have tried this lens. I really wanted to try the lens, and we just never swapped. But the resolution is pretty staggering on how good it was. The one thing that I would change just a little bit, I would add more light with a radial kind of across the mid walls of the canyon, and then you can tell by the shadow that the light was kind of from the right of the camera. I think this would be pretty cool if the light was coming from behind that rock on the right, and paint from there to kind of give it a kind of a different light source, because the floor, the bottom maybe 20% of this photo is a little bit bright, and your eyes kind of it's pulling away from the Milky Way, right? So we have a bright Milky Way, we have a dark horizon, and then a more bright foreground. And so I would want that transition to be smoother, to where the foreground's a little bit darker, the middle ground's a little bit brighter, and then the Milky Way is a little bit brighter, so that your eye naturally comes up to it. Okay, and I think if we had gone behind that rock and painted from there, I think that could have been another interesting way to paint it. I know the photo I just posted on Facebook today, we had like 3 people light painting, and I really liked how that turned out, and I wish we'd have done this for this one as well. It's a technique, looking back, that having some coordination there really added, and having more hands work a photo, I think really can take it to the next level. So, but yeah, the Milky Way here looks super good. It probably doesn't show up as well on the YouTube stream, but in my Lightroom, like, the stars are like absolutely awesome and sharp. So good job. All right, this one comes from, I believe, Chris. Chris, are you out there watching? You said you were going to maybe try to watch. I don't know if you're out there all the way from Maryland. I think this is from her trip to Cuba a few years ago. I love the cat in this photo. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little cat, like a little street cat walking through. So we have 4 people and 1 cat, so we have the rule of odds, right? So we have 5 subjects, which is what we want. And we just have people chilling on a porch step. Just kind of kicking back. We have that one overhead light source that kind of lends itself to Rembrandt lighting. And so I think this is pretty cool. Like, right there, Colton. Yeah. You see the cat right there? Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's my son, Colton. Say hi, Colton.
Hello.
And so I think this photo is really good. It is a little dark to me, and it came out a little flat. And so I boosted it, and then radial kind of enhance where your eyes should go onto the human subjects, and then darkened the light from above, just so it didn't blow out. So if you're making a print, you don't have an ink desert. But I love this scene. We have a good play of like a lit balcony with kind of the dark edges of the town. Like, it's really cool. It's a really, really great like street scene. I really like it. It's really good. It just need to be a little bit brighter. Now, again, I realize I'm biased. I love bright colors and a lot of colors. Look at me. I'm wearing a bright orange shirt, right? I like bright. So I don't do subtle as well. What's up, Miguel? I'm going to get to I talked about your photo a second ago, but I'm going to bring it in Lightroom here in just a second. So yeah, that is my own bias. I know, like if Brian were watching, he likes more of the minimalistic, lower tone. So obviously personal taste. I'm just giving you examples of what could be done. I am certainly not telling you what you need to do, just what different directions you could take a photo. Oh, I like this one. This one comes from Miss Kim 4, who also made a great pinch hit mermaid on Saturday. Thank you, Kim, again for jumping in the pool and getting super red eyes, but you did great. One of my favorite images of you with the rainbow going across your body when you're wearing the purple dress. One of my favorite images from that shoot, so thank you so much. This image is creepy as hell. She doesn't have a nose. She has skeleton face. Yeah, I think the toning here is great. This isn't a normal subject, so why should the processing be normal? Right, good question. And I think the fact that you kind of took it pretty far, I think it works for this one. I'm usually not a fan of overlays, but I think the overlays and the textures to this photo actually work pretty well. If you look at the comments, you can see people going, whoa, and nice. So I think that suggests that, it did the right thing. But I also love the pose here, right? It's kind of a quiet, contemplative face with very energetic processing and lots of stuff going on. And so I think that's an interesting, we're talking contrast today. I think that's an interesting contrast going on here, that we have kind of a quiet moment, like this angel has done way too much work today, and maybe she just needs a little good cup of coffee before she goes out and Grim Reapers a little bit more. So yeah, I dig this one. I love it. I don't really have anything else to say. The other thing, again, we have a great foreground though. We have that texture on the right hand side, and so there's a little bit of out of focus before we get to the face. So we do have a foreground, a middle ground, and a background, which I think adds even that other layer of complexity to the photo here. So really good job, Kim. I liked it. Ooh, this one comes from, I was just talking about him, Mr. Brian Nixon. He was just up in Oklahoma, I believe, shooting for a film set, and this is one of the production stills. Mark, I think those light flares were added in post. I think it was a texture overlay, is my guess. Killer Chi, if you want to answer, Mark is a good lad. To see if I'm right, I would appreciate it. But this is a great example of only showing what you want to show and having that really cool channel of light, right? It's almost like a castle wall window where just this like deep channel of light is coming across the screen, and then we just expose for the highlights. I think it's fun that we can't see the person's face. There's a mirror there. You would want to look in the mirror to see the face, but we don't get to. So this photo is in some places a little bit, it's meant to be this, but it's frustrating because we don't get to see the face. We don't get to see all the little details in this room, but that makes us look at the photo more to find a way in. Yeah, it makes us try to find a way in. Yeah, I like that. But I love just this like sliver of light going across the screen. We have all this cool texture going across, and then just a dude standing there. Now, I don't know if this was intentional or not, but that left edge is whoop, and I don't know if it's supposed to be that to add more to the kind of dystopian feel of it. But the door to the right isn't, so it makes me feel like this is just a geometry. And so if it was me, I would take that left edge with a guided tool and straighten it up. But again, I don't know if that was intentional or not. So I'm just saying something you could do. But the window light's great, and just that hand in the back of the neck, like we know it's a human, but it's this really cool contemplative form. I think the initial urge would be to put the person's face to the light and just let that Rembrandt light come across them, because this is exactly the light source that Rembrandt would use, right? High and above coming across. And so it's frustrating that we don't get to use that, but it only adds to the weight of the photo. The other thing too, right, the weight, we just have the center line diagonal, and then everything else is black. And so there's balance above, there's balance below, and the light source actually kind of becomes its own triangle. So we have a triangle in the middle, and then a triangle on top, triangle on the bottom. So that's also, if you squint your eyes, you can kind of see the triangles going on there, which I think kind of lends itself to being, that cool photo. So good job, Ryan. I like this one. All right, this one comes from John. What's up, John? Hope you're out there listening. I know you said you might have a hard time getting to it. Yeah, Mark, you're exactly right. That unease is why you have to keep looking at it, right? You're waiting for the head to turn. You're waiting for that light to turn. Yeah, it's intentionally frustrating, and it makes you want to watch it more. Have you ever seen the frustrating meme where like everything, like all the like things are about to fall, but before they fall, they cut to the next scene, and like it's all these like, I don't know. I'll post it somewhere. But there's another cool reflection shot. This is, I think, the Monarch building downtown. I think the Monarch building. I think I had a friend that used to live there. But I love how the reflection. Can I hear? How the reflection makes it warp. So this building, in this case, isn't supposed to be. Do I have sound? This building isn't supposed to have. It's not supposed to be the shape that it is, and that's intentional, right? So I wouldn't want to do, right, because the reflection of this tour bus is the intentional part of making it warpy, and I like that, right? So we have the straight lines of the bus warping into, right, our subject, and kind of makes it feel, whoa, right? It makes us feel that. Ooh. Are we losing stuff? Uh-oh. Hope not. Excellent connection. Stream health. We're still good. Okay. My audio has gone weird there for a second. I hope everything's okay. Yeah. But I really like this photo. I think it's a fun, unexpected kind of warping of what we were expecting. So, yeah. It's just a cool like street grab. I like it. Yeah, I don't know where the picture went. Let me... Can y'all see me back? I'm not sure where it went. Yeah, text something. Oh, where did it go? Okay, hey guys, the screen is gray. I am not sure what is happening here. Everything says it is good on my side, but I can't. Yeah, 18% gray. It's 18% gray card. Yeah, I am not sure what is happening here. Can we go back to it? Very postmodern, I know. What is happening? Yay for streaming. I know, nobody can see me. I can't even see myself right now. Very fun. Hang on, we're getting there. Something is happening. Arg. Why? Man, I didn't get to the cool part where I edited all y'all's photos. My mushrooms are working. Yeah, I'm seeing some pinks now. Stream health. Everything says it's good. Why? Yeah, Dragon, that was good. I like that one. Dragon's always there with the witty comments. I don't even know what to change at this point. Maybe my connection dropped, but I don't know. I am looking. Oh, so fun. And now it's warping slowly. Ooh, warping slowly. All my processor stuff says it's good. Yay. Well, let's see. Well, that was the last photo. So, I mean, we did end at the right place. I will, how about this? I will email you my edits. So to each of you, I will email edits that I did. So we're going to end there because I don't know what's happening. But thank you all for joining us. I will be posting details on the July happy hour / Josh Says Mean Things that we're going to be doing at the Three-Legged Goat. I hope y'all have a wonderful Tuesday. And I don't know what's going to happen to my computer. So hooray. But thanks for joining us. I think we had a great conversation, and we'll talk to y'all soon.